You're listening to the Slavic Literature Pod, your shelf help guide to all things Slavic. I'm Cameron Lolana.
And I'm Matt Gerasimovich.
And today we're covering Part 1, Chapter 48 of Vasily Grossman's Life and Fate, continuing on with David's story, this time going further back into the past, starting with a very brief interlude covering his childhood before coming into how David came to be in this small town, which will eventually turn to the ghetto that, will lead to the rest of the events we've been talking about in the last few chapters. But, for now, as he moves in, it's a place full of life. It's somewhere in the Ukrainian SSSR. It's a small, seemingly apparently majority or even entirely Jewish village, right? I mean, this is the first time that David's encountering Ukrainian. It's the first time he's encountering Yiddish. He's got this whole different way of life. He's from Moscow, and suddenly he's among tradespeople who have to kill their own chickens. I mean, it's a very different world, and it builds up a great sense of character as well as anxiety as he's throughout his childhood. At least this recollection of is filled with concerns of death. So is there anywhere in particular that you'd like to start? Because I'm still trying to arrange my thoughts on this chapter, I think.
Yeah, this one, to me as well, kind of, I feel like there's probably more I would want to say on it, but I don't know if I have it all mentally there. I think that, for me, what really stood out was the ending, if you'll allow me to steal the quote, which I know was, I just loved this quote, and this kind of ending where David's idea of fairy tale is kind of meshing with real life, but not in a good way. And so there's this quote that goes, "Death, who had once lived in a fairy tale forest where a fairy tale wolf was creeping up on a fairy tale goat, was no longer confined to the pages of a book." For the first time, David felt very clearly that he himself was mortal, not just in a fairy tale way, but in actual fact. And it's we do talk about this chapter a bit more in our longer episode, but it is a very terrifying thing for a young child to have a comprehension of death, like that. You know what I mean? I think that fairy tale death is one thing, but kids aren't supposed to have that sort of comprehension, right? Most of us, even still, are not good at comprehending that fact, and so to be pushed towards it so kind of harshly it's very jarring, and to then see that sort of through the child's perspective is part of what makes these chapters very difficult to read.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting to take it from the child's perspective, because definitely Grossman has children in his work, but we don't tend to see things from their perspective quite as much. But this is something I'm going to be tracking, and it's not a fully formed idea or theory, whatever you want to call it yet. But and talking about David's attitude towards death, I'm really interested in the way that Grossman says that, David has this simple and intuitive understanding of it that is indicative of children or philosophers with, particularly clear-thinking minds, because you do see children playing the role of adults sometimes in Grossman's work, especially in moments before death. I won't speak in regards to this book, but definitely in regards to the short story. I think it's The Old Teacher. We have, a young child who, as a Jewish town is about to be executed by the Nazis, you've got this old teacher who is comforted in his last moments by sort of adopting this child who helps him understand death with this clarity. And I don't know if this is going to be a fully formed, coherent idea, right? Maybe there's something about adulthood that's obscuring, that doesn't allow you to see death in the same way a child does. Maybe that fact isn't important. Maybe we don't need to even cover it. But I think seeing this perspective may help us inform kind of the role that certain children will be playing for other characters.
Well, that and another strain to track with the Tolstoy comparisons that are made a lot. This is a very common way of sort of understanding Tolstoy's thoughts and philosophies, is that he's very interested in complex truths that can be expressed very simply. And so a child's perspective is, of course, one of those ways that we are able to kind of access that. And so it also is an important narrative device when you are dealing with, these topics that have like these kind of larger scale topics that have a lot of complexity, yet there is still this simple underlying truth to the larger discussion. Um, a child can inherently recognize that these sort of things are wrong, and so Grossman can build out from that and show what a real perversion of humanity we're witnessing. So this is a good series of chapters. David will continue to be quite an important character in the book, so pay attention.
Pay attention. Keep paying attention to David. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say on this. I think that this is maybe a good place to hold it for now. For David's story, we'll continue tomorrow.
Sounds good to me. In that case, you will hear from us again soon.
Hey, 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 hey.